Right, I want to also show how I go about hiding the point motors that I use. On my layout I'm using Minitrix points and track. The reason for that is simple. It's what I started with when I was young, and when I built the layout I had all this track available, so I just used that. I know you can get better quality track, more realistic track I should say, but it's what I had, so I'll continue to use it. And I've never really had many issues with my with the track and the points, so I'll just, as I said, continue to use it. But one thing that I did decide very early on in the layout was I didn't like the way the point motors, it's not the right way, I'll use this point here. If you just attach them, the Matrix ones, it's quite simple. There's two little slots where these tongues clip into, and that's, you have it. But to me the downside of that is you can see the point motor, and that's not something that I really wanted to do. So with the Trix point motors, luckily you can reverse them and attach them to the points so that they sit flush. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to clip this one in. It's something I can't do one-handed while I'm filming, so I'll be back in a second. So there you see it, it's clipped in, and when you look at it side on, most of the motor is now underneath the level of the sleepers. And all you have to do when you lay a track is work out where the motor is going to be positioned, mark it out, and then cut out on your baseboard the area so it sits, the track sits flush. Now one thing as well that I wanted to do is I wanted to hide this. Now obviously there's an issue if you use loose ballast, because you don't want it to go into the mechanism at all, otherwise you will ruin the point. So what I've done is, or what I do is, I have these gravel mats. It's just crap paper, I think, with imitation gravel stuck onto it. Actually feels like paper or wood, very small wood chips painted various tones of grey, and it's, to me, it's ideal for hiding the points, because all you do is stick this down, apologies for my hand, stick this over the point until you hide it all. Now I usually leave a little notch cut out so you can get to the mechanism. If there is an issue, you can manually turn the points. And the other good reason for using this is you make this piece big enough to cover from here usually to rough about here and out like this, and you just glue that down with wood glue, PVA. If there ever is an issue with the point in the future, you can just basically just cut this and access the point. Now what I do as well, once I've glued this down, as you've seen in the previous video, I then use my normal loose ballast coming up to about here, and I just gently feather it in around the edge of this paper ballast, and then you blend it in, and you know, unless you're looking at it very closely, you don't really see it. And obviously then you can paint this dirt colour, browns, whatever as well, to blend it in more, especially as I weather my track as well. So once it's all done, you know, it's very difficult to see. The other thing as well, to make it less noticeable, the red switch here, I usually paint that very carefully with a brown blackish colour again, just to make sure it doesn't stand out so much. And that's how I hide my my point motors. I'm not saying that you never see them, because you do. I mean, if I go to one over here, you can see there. You can see where I blended it in, painted the switch as I said. Unfortunately, the notch on this one is too big, but again, it doesn't really make much difference. I mean, that was an extreme close-up. When you look at it normally, you don't see it. I mean, on the other point here, again, the notch isn't perfect, but with a nice bit of painting, you can disguise that quite well. And to me, the overall effect is very good to hide your points. And as I said, it's easily accessible. If you ever need to get to your points, you can get to them. Although, as I said, I've not had any real issues with them over the many years that I've been using these points. I think I've only had one, I think maybe two failures, and actually one of them I managed to fix. It was just a very loose wire inside the motor. So yeah, I'm happy with it. So that's how I do it. So here I am, starting to put the catenary system back in place, and it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I actually mixed up the overhead wires, so I'm having to sort of dry fit everything to see if it actually is the right wire. Otherwise I'll have to cut some new wires myself. I've got some long lengths and it shouldn't be too difficult, but I'd rather use what I have. As you can see, I've got some wagons out testing the distances between the masts to make sure there's enough clearance, and I've got some bits and pieces just to keep the masts in place while the glue dries. Originally some of them were screwed into the base, but the holes that were there making it a bit difficult to re-screw them in, so I think I'm just going to glue them in. It should be okay. That one's just sort of dry fitted. I think that's the right length for that one. I've got this one, here we go, there you go, just drying. I'm using deluxe glue. I was thinking of using super glue, but I think this will be stronger, and just takes a little bit longer to dry, that's all. And I've still got my broken mast to deal with. That will probably be super glue. I need to find, there's a hole in the bottom there, a small wire rod, stiff piece of plastic or something that I can put in there to give it a bit of strength, structural strength, so it doesn't break too easily if it gets leaned against. Not that that should happen, but I just want to be sure. So I've just got to now wait for this glue to dry, and I can continue with the rest. Okay, so here we are. The glue has dried on some of the masts I did yesterday. I've now glued a new mast into position after fitting some of the overhead wires, because this one I needed to be exactly sure of the distance, so I need to wait for that to dry, and then I can do the final connection of the wires. I've also glued this mast into position, and I'm going to use that steel rod to brace it, because I don't think it's going to hold, even though there's really going to be no pressure on it. The two overhead wires going to the left and right of this aren't going to put any pressure on the mast, but I just want to be safe. And then once I've done that, I can connect up some of the other ones. I've measured them all out, got some here. What I will need to do is these little spacers, I'm not sure what they're called. I will cut some new ones and position them and glue them onto these spots here to make it a little more realistic. For some reason I think they've come off of this one, so I'll replace that. And obviously once all the gluing's done, it'll just be a case of painting them this sort of green grey colour. I'll have to look up exactly what it is. I think it's one of the Tamiya paints I've got, just to hide the copper colour of the wires, because in real life they're not copper, obviously. They are this dull weathered grey, and makes it blend into the scenery better. Okay, so I'll be back again shortly with an update once all this gluing has been done, and we'll see how I get on.
Well, as you can see, everything's glued in. I've still got the masts, the wires to paint, but I've ballasted around the mast, as you can see, and applied my PVA water mix to glue it down. That's the mast that I broke, and as you can see, there's a little bit of plastic I never noticed was missing, but that's easily touched up. In the end, I didn't even have to use a wire to support it. The glue is actually strong enough, and it looks okay. I'll just find a little bit of plastic or some filler and hide that little bit that's missing. So all I've got to do is wait for the ballast to dry where I've glued it down around the masts, and I shall continue painting the wires and hopefully get this finished off. So far it's looking really good, and I'm pleased with how it's coming along. And these are the little supports that I mentioned earlier, which also have to be painted.
Okay, now we're back again, and just showing you the ballasting that I've done around the masts to finish that off. This one here, these here, and that one there. Still a little bit damp. I need to give it another sort of half a day to dry, and then I'll be ready to do some final touch-up weathering on it, and that should be that part complete. As you can see, I've put in all the catenary masts. They also need to be touched up and painted still, but I'll finish that off very soon. And that's basically going to be it. And then all I need to do is put in all the bits and pieces, scenery, accessories, etc. Put them all back in place here in this yard and on the track, line side, bushes and what have you. And then that should be the whole scene complete. And I have to say, it's taken a long time to do, but I think it does look very good. I'm quite pleased with the outcome of that. So it gives me hope now that when I come to do these two double switches, replace them, I'll get the same result. This side should be easier to do. I mean, it's just these two double slips here. This one and this one that I'm going to need to remove and replace with the crossing. As per the other side, this one has already been motorized. This one and this point here has been motorized as well. I need to just weather that gravel a little bit to complete that. So really the only section I need to remove is track from approximately there. Let's see, wherever yeah, there's the joins. Remove that. Remove the joiners there, 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 and there. And as I did before, carefully cut out the ballast, remove the track, and then prepare it for the crossings. One of my other projects that I'm going to do in the new year is to remove and relocate this storage sidings for my trains for the branch line. And currently the branch line from the main station comes along here, leaves the layout through this tunnel, and then comes round, and I have two sidings, storage yards here, not very long, and then they come back and join the branch line, which then curls round and then goes round the back of the layout. What I want to do is basically remove that point and the associated point here and make these even bigger, so I can store lots of trains around the back of the layout. You can see here I sometimes struggle with space. I mean, the branch layout, the trains aren't very long, so it wasn't an issue before, but I've got some more running on the branch layout, and I want to vary it ever so slightly. So I've decided I actually need a longer storage yard so I can have the trains come in and just park there. So that's what I'm going to do, remove those points, and basically with some flexi track that I've got is put the points in here, basically starting roughly here, come in, and this will be the storage yard, and that will run along to approximately here. So, and that'll be where it rejoins the yard, the main line for the branch that I've got. Shouldn't be too difficult to do. It's just will take a little bit of time to just cut out the track and put the points in. One of my other projects, as you can see here, is I've wired up some more street lights with the associated resistors already wired in. These are little LED street lights, and I'm going to put them on the layout similar to these ones that I've already put in place, and continue the street lighting along here. I do have my kit to do street markings, etc., which I will do before I install the lights. It's going to be difficult enough because I made a mistake here of putting the street lamps in before doing the street markings, so I'm going to have to be very careful when I do that. But it's just be a fiddly job, but I'm sure can be done if I just take my time and be careful. And it shouldn't damage anything. Okay, so that's all for now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Any comments, questions, as ever, just leave a comment, and I'll be back with some new videos in the new year. So I'm not planning to do any filming. I'm just going to get this, as I said earlier, cleaned up and run some trains. I may do some filming, but I won't post anything until the new year again. Right, thanks a lot everyone. Bye for now. And here's the final result. All the scenics and everything have been put back. Everything's been touched up, painted, and I'm very pleased with how that's turned out. Just some testing that I did. Everything clean, everything working. So, as I said earlier, going to start the west side of the station after New Year and swap out those double slips, and I'll post a video of that in due course. Thanks again for watching. Bye.